Welcome to Because You Need to Know, recorded live at the Cohen Multimedia Studio at Chautauqua Institution. I am Edwin K. Morse, President and Founder of Pioneer Knowledge Services. This series is your digital resource of valuable conversations with nonprofit and knowledge management enthusiasts from across industries and from around the globe. Today's guest is Mario Hicks. He is the current Advancement Manager with Upstate New York Transplant Services. Mario is currently responsible for annual, major, and planned giving. Prior to coming to UNYTS, Mario spent 3.5 years with Buffalo State as Director of Annual Giving. Mario is a certified fundraising executive with an MBA from the University of New Haven. He is currently pursuing a doctorate in business administration with an interest in nonprofit mergers and acquisition from George Fox University. How long have you been in the nonprofit world?
I've been in the nonprofit world. This is my 7th year, going into 7, and it's been a really fun ride.
So did you have a background as a youth of doing service, being involved, or how did it even get started?
You know, I really think about that more and more as I progress. And growing up, my mom used to volunteer a lot at the local nursing home, and she'd bring me with her, and we would visit and spend time with the elderly folks that were there, and just it was a great way to get out and experience service. So that was a big deal to me going forward, where I would find opportunities to help. And my folks became actually youth services. So I did a lot of park program related stuff throughout high school. And then it kind of stuck with me through college, where I became a camp counselor. And so it's always kind of been with me.
I see. Well, it's a good motivational story, right? It was a seed planted at a very young age. You were imprinted with your mom's activity, and you thought, wow, this is beneficial to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe our family is really about service.
That's a good place to come from. Where are you now, and what is your view of nonprofit world now?
So I recently moved from a higher education, where I've been for the last 3.5 years, and now I'm sort of in the healthcare space. So I work for a not-for-profit that focused on eye, organ, tissue, and blood donation. It's kind of in that healthcare space where we're dealing with families, former patients, doctors, and those sort of things, but not necessarily what I would say is full fundamental, say hospital fundraising.
How big of a footprint is that?
It's very niche. A lot of OPOs, or organ procurement, organizations are really building development kind of engines within to really support services like advocacy for registration of folks to sign up to be organ donors. And there's also the family services side, supporting families during that time of making that decision. And then also the education side. So, we're one of the unique OPOs that we're in high schools educating students about the importance of donation. So it's very niche. I would say right now there's not a lot of OPOs that do it, but it's growing. And it's, like I said, it's right in that middle in between, kind of being full-blown healthcare fundraising and not. So
well, yeah, right. So that brings up an interesting point as far as trying to culture the young people to understand it more, so they're aware of it and understand what the benefit is, not only to the recipient, but as far as your family as being a donor to help someone continue living.
Absolutely. And really telling the story. And I think that's in any nonprofit space, is telling that story of that importance. So it makes the conversation easy. So telling the importance of donation is a big deal, but the story of someone who has received the gift of life, in a sense, and what things they've gone on to be able to do besides just, living.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what our students are really sharing, is it makes that conversation easier with their families as well. And it just makes our community more aware of other ways you can give and keep life going.
So how does this approach differ from any other transplant services?
I think there's a lot of what I would consider in my short experience here is changing the relationship from transactional, more on the business side, more on the OPO relationship with healthcare systems, and really expanding that and advocating for the value of growing that community of donation or donors and donations. So, I really think of it as a way that more OPOs obviously need to do this. I think there's cultural aspects of it. So if you come from a certain country, you may not necessarily think of donation in the same way as someone who's either used to it or has grown up with it. So it's really looking at it from all of those aspects and finding the best story to tell, so that everyone understands the value again. So
yeah, you bring up the culture piece. I would assume there's some religious barriers and cultural barriers to anything like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, it does come down to education. So obviously, if you come from a particular religion where maybe, say, for example, you have to be in the ground in a certain amount of days. So we have a great team that has been able to really explain what happens during that donation process and how it still aligns with, say, religious values. And it doesn't obviously align with every religion or spiritual background, but even from Christian to Islamic faiths, there is an opportunity for donation. So I'm just thinking of kind of the major two at the moment.
Right. Where do you physically sit and how big of a footprint do you have? Where's your reach?
Serve all the 8 counties of Western New York. So our reach is continuing to grow. Just established a relationship actually down in Olean, where our blood recruitment team is really starting to build relationships. We're not in necessarily a direct competition from the blood side with, say, for example, the Red Cross.
Right.
Our tagline is for donation purposes, specifically to blood. That is, if you give here in the Western New York community, you are supporting and saving someone here in the Western New York community. That blood stays here. So, that's kind of our thing we hang our hat on. From a development perspective and a nonprofit professional, it makes me think of our best practices as far as philanthropy goes in a very unique way, because we're already asking for the ultimate gift. And where does philanthropy fit within that conversation? So I'm having very unique learning experience joining this team.
So what's the biggest challenge in that?
I think the biggest challenge, and I think in anything as it relates to philanthropy and the nonprofit space, is what is the individual perception of a dollar, right? What is your perspective of that? And we can ask for some of these major life-changing things in organ, tissue, and blood donation, but we still obviously need to be careful in the same way when it comes to asking someone to support our mission. So someone, the rebuttals are different, obviously, well, we've already made this ultimate gift. Why would we need this? And that shouldn't deter us from asking in a way, but it's a very interesting sort of balance that you need to have in this unique space.
So is there more opportunity, do you see, in the outreach and partnership development in as much as there is the fundraising?
Yes, absolutely. The community partners that we're having is growing at a very significant rate because of the education side of understanding, again, the importance of donation. Obviously, I don't know if you've heard, there's some legislative changes that could potentially happen where instead of having to opt in on your New York State license, you'd have to opt out. So, which,
interesting.
Depending on what your opinion is of that, could be a beneficial thing. That doesn't change what we do. We still would be pushing for advocacy because there still is an education with that.
Sure.
I'll give you a base example. Someone might say, well, if I donate, can I still have an open casket? Something like that. You have to really educate someone and says, yes, you can have an open casket because the donation it's not in the sense where they're taking.
Right.
So some people might think that immediately.
Sure.
And, well, I don't want to donate because I would want my family to. It's an interesting and exciting challenge, I would say, but education is still very important. And there's an opportunity with a lot of community partners on the education side. Yes.
So how does the education become deliverable content for you folks? How do you build that material?
Well, it's about storytelling, and it's about our families. I think, for one, we have folks who have been with us for a very long time. We have blood donors who've been giving for 10 years or more. We have families who given the gift of life who have been with us for so long. So they can tell you what that experience is from beginning to end, and partner with our education side on donation is important. Mm-hmm. So it's through storytelling, through all of our channels, social media, et cetera, and having great volunteers and champions of our mission, which I think every nonprofit should have in some way or another. Those are the big key factors for how we're able to get the word out and to build partners and build a momentum for our mission.
So tell me about where you think your doctorate work will put you in your life's work.
Really excited to start that journey. One, it's been a personal and a dream, and to what I feel is to attain kind of one of the ultimate benchmarks that we have. Mm-hmm. As far as it goes with my work, my focus is really going to be on strategic management, and I think it brings a lot of value to the nonprofit space. I think as we continue to grow, and there's a number of great nonprofit missions out there, it's really going to take strategic leadership and management to really kind of separate yourself from all of those other great missions. And also bringing, for example, kind of the research foundations that a doctorate provides. I think those, to answer some of the challenging questions of your particular mission, there is an opportunity to do some research there to maybe answer some questions and make it applicable and actually give you an advantage or a competitive edge. Again, to separate yourself.
That strategic view, and everybody's got a different kind of view of strategic, and it's funny because some organizations, I sit on the board of one organization that considers the board a working board. There's nobody really looking out 5 years. They're all trying to keep the lights on, and it's funny how organizations come at operations so differently because you always think the board should always be out 5 or 10 years, should always be looking to the future and how they're future-proofing the organization. What do you see as the hardest thing to do for an organization in achieving a valuable, useful strategy?
I really think it's really a balancing act. You have to do both, right? I think the board and senior leadership have to have that sort of 65,000-foot view, and how do you really continue to look ahead, look at what those challenges are, but make sure that your operations are where they need to be, and what the priorities are. And I also think that one of the things that, some nonprofits actually struggle with is committing. Commit to that particular decision that you've made and really kind of see where it goes. Obviously, there's going to be challenges and spinoffs of that. But don't bail on something immediately if it doesn't produce those immediate results. That honestly, failure is what is there's a quote or
the fail fast, learn quicker. Right.
Learn quicker. That's one of them. But you're going to have some missteps. But if you're responsible and smart about your operations, that creates innovation. That create, and that's one of the things that I think nonprofits are hesitant to do for a lot of reasons. But we do need to innovate. We do need to find better ways in our business to really grow our missions.
Yeah, the fear of failure prevents a lot of action. A lot of organizations are fearful of trying something or putting their neck on the block, so to speak, because they could fail. And it's like, if you come at it with a paradigm that failure is an opportunity to learn versus the end of your existence, it's a different mentality, because it does foster a paradigm of innovation and people experimenting, right? Because if you don't have experimentation, you will not innovate.
And you'll be doing kind of the same things.
Yeah, exactly.
Over
right. Good or bad or mediocre. You're in the rut of, well, we did this last year, let's do it again. Yeah.
Right.
Don't want to rock the boat.
Right. That's true. So.
Well, thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. And this was very pleasant. So thank you.
I would invite you to go to our nonprofit website and look at the short 3.5-minute video of what knowledge management is, just so you can get a better idea, because it really adds the bridge between the strategy and operational or tactical piece of any organization in a intentful and designed way of creating a knowledge asset in the organization.
All right, I will take a look at that. Absolutely.
Recorded live at the Cohen Multimedia Studio at Chautauqua Institution, Because You Need to Know is designed to bring people's experience and their knowledge forward to be shared. I'm Edwin K. Morris, and I thank you for joining in to listen to another conversation brought to you as a public service of Pioneer Knowledge Services, a nonprofit tax-exempt organization with a charitable knowledge management purpose. Find us online at pioneer-ks.org and add your voice to the conversation on Facebook.